Friday, August 16th. We have made it through the week. 15-game slate ahead of us, and I'm a little pumped for it. Adam, how did your Thursday go?
It was not bad. Had a lot of really good lineups. Would have had a monster night if your dumbass Indians call hadn't come through. Yeah, it was a good night though. I'm happy with how it went. Breaking even in large field tournaments is definitely a win, so I'll take it. How was yours?
No complaints at all. Had a ton of Indians. They were my second most exposed stack, so finished up quite a bit. Just didn't have a lineup break into any top tens and any of the large field stuff, so you're not going to get paid off too much since these things are so ridiculously top heavy, but I can't be mad at all. I had 15+% of Jose Ramirez, some similar number to Carlos Santana. So anytime you're going to get 50, well, at least on FanDuel, two 50-point guys with that much regularity, if you don't finish at least slightly positive, you probably did something else wrong. I would check all of this stuff out right now. FC going through a little bit of maintenance this morning. I know Dave is working on getting some soccer stuff updated, which I am not exactly mad about. So we would look at this stuff if we could. I would be happy to pat myself on the back for that Indian stuff with some visual proof, but unfortunately can't happen right now. So we will get into plugs. MLB Strategy is the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. If you want to check out Awesemo Plus and everything we have to offer, use the promo code MLB Strategy, one big word, when signing up. And as usual, we are brought to you by Yahoo Sports. Today is Friday, which means Yahoo Specific Strategy Show coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. No boss man on it today. It's just going to be myself and Jake breaking down this slate from a Yahoo slant. So come tune in for that. If you're interested in signing up at Yahoo, I have dropped the link into the YouTube chat for Emacs Yahoo strategy article. There will be some information at the top of the article for instructions on signing up. You can use the promo code AWESEMO, get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. They have a $25 no management fee $1 million prize pool set up for week 1 of the NFL. You cannot beat that contest. I think it's probably going to be one of, if not the best contest that's going in the industry for week 1 of the NFL season. I highly recommend at least getting one entry in there. If you want to sign up at Yahoo and use those $30 in YSRPs, that'll cover one of your entry fees to the contest. You can't really beat it. Doing lower management fees, no management fees, just better payout structures. You're not battling 150 max. It's a really great place to play for casual players. Highly recommended. Man, we have a lot to talk about today. A lot of pitching, a lot of interesting run totals. 2 teams over 7 right now. Going to be craziness. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Yankees and Indians, my boys, coming right back today. 5.8 run implied total for the Yanks, 4.7 for the Indians. 60% chance to win for Masahiro Tanaka going for New York. Aaron Savali going for the Indians. Neither guy really getting any ownership, and I don't have much interest, particularly in New York. You looking for either guy?
No, I don't think so. Tanaka, his strikeout numbers, this year for the most part have really been down. But even on top of that, it's just a really tough matchup against Cleveland. Not a lot of strikeouts in the lineup. A lot of power now that they've added Puig and Reyes as well. Suddenly you look at hitters 1 through 7, and you've just got really dangerous hitters facing Tanaka. Naquin has some pop as well. So I don't think I'll get there.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the pitching. We certainly need to talk about the hitting. Obviously, the Yankees with a sizable run total. Indians 4.7 against Tanaka in New York is really not all that shabby. Yankees not really getting any ownership. They are in the middle of the pack in the aggregate. Nobody more than 7% for Aaron Judge. Meanwhile, the Indians are completely unowned. I want to have way more of both sides of this game than the public is showing. I'm going right back to the Indians. I'm certainly going to the Yankees. What say you on offense in this one?
Yeah, I think the offenses here are pretty appealing too. Aaron Savali has had a couple of good starts in the majors, but he's had some favorable matchups too. The Yankees, obviously not one of those, not at full strength, but still plenty of power in this lineup. They're affordably priced too. I mean, looking at their DraftKings prices, you have Giovanni Urshela at 5,300, but other than that, the guys that you would really want, Judge, Gregorius, Sanchez, 4,300 to 4,500. Torres is sub 5K. Mike Ford is basically free. I think it's a pretty appealing stack for the Yankees. And then on the other side too, full stacks, mini stacks, one offs. I think any of those approaches are appealing because, like I said, you do have power here. And Tanaka, even when he was a strikeout pitcher in previous years, struggled with home runs. Now he's not even a strikeout pitcher. So I just think it's a pretty appealing game offensively.
Yeah, I assume we're going to get a little bit flatter of ownership right now. We have very big extremes in Colorado and the Marlins, actually. Most of the rest of the teams are all just sitting in this like 4 to 5 range for high-owned teams. So we'll see where that goes. But if teams like the Yankees and the Indians are going to go unowned, I'm just going to buy their power again for no ownership. It's that it really comes down to just that. There are, I don't know, 7.5 good power bats in the Indians lineup. There are 8 in the Yankees lineup. I just want to get as much of that as I can, especially at price tags that are not hard to get to. Do you have a favorite bat in this game?
Any of Judge, Gregorius, or Sanchez?
Judge grades out, well, technically speaking, Lindor grades out best for me. So I'll be sending that, hey, I have a lot of Francisco Lindor message to you again like I did yesterday. Didn't pay off as much, but I get the sense that number is going to look comparable to yesterday's exposure. Lindor is 1 for me. Judge is 2. Judge just needs to start doing something. It's really all there is. I'll have a lot. That's all. The best I can say is this might be my favorite game on the slate, and we're getting it out of the way in the first 7 minutes of the show. I don't have anything else.
Nope.
Nats and Brewers, 4.9 run implied total for the Nats, 4.1 for the Brew Crew. 59% chance to win for Washington. Pat Corbin going for the Nats. Adrian Hauser going for the Brewers. Corbin getting some love. 24% ownership on Yahoo, 7 on FanDuel, 10 on DraftKings. Nothing coming in for Hauser. Let's start with Corbin. Does this spot interest you at all? He's kind of expensive. I get the Yahoo ownership of 46.
I mean, it's mildly interesting just because Corbin, does have good strikeout stuff. But in the context of the slate, I think I have a hard time getting there because you have for more money, but you have Corbin, or God, you have Morton, you have Verlander, you have Castillo on the slate as well. I just think that I have trouble prioritizing Corbin over those guys.
I do not disagree. I'm really surprised, honestly, to see him get to 10% ownership here. I prefer pretty greatly the 2 guys that are below him in Syndergaard and Minor. I would rather probably have Castillo as well, just because of the Brewers matchup. There's a lot of scary bats there for Corbin. More lefties than righties, but even still, I don't get the sense that I'm going to be having him.
Yeah, I think you lost me on Syndergaard, but
well, of course I did. We'll get there. Do you want Hauser? Completely unowned right now. $27 on Yahoo, I think, is at least worth a look.
Yeah, that's fine. He's just not a great strikeout pitcher. Like, obviously, he had a monster game as chalk his last time out, but that's not really who he is. He's a guy that you can use as a cheap SP2 when he's really inexpensive. But tough matchup here against the Nats. He's not that cheap anymore. For the season overall, including his time out of the bullpen, he has a 5.6% strikeout percentage. But as a starter, I believe it's lower. I'm pulling it back up now. But I know as of last time I looked, it was down around 20%. And that's not really unusual. Obviously pitching out of the bullpen is different, and generally you're going to see strikeouts tick up. As a starter, he's up to 23.6%. So that's actually pretty decent. His xFIP's 3.71. So the numbers are actually looking pretty good, but it does still come back to it being a difficult matchup against the Nats. Not a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. A bunch of really good hitters. So I still don't think I end up getting to a lot of Hauser.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Don't get the sense that I'll have pitching in this game. From an ownership perspective on hitting, it's essentially unowned. The Brewers are 7th on DraftKings. No one more than 9% of low Kane. So there's no problem getting to any offense here. I don't get the sense that I'll have much at all. A couple Brewers bats are probably I'm fine if I get to Ryan Braun or Grandal, but mostly I'm probably just not going to be in this game. Do you want anything?
No, I think I'm right there with you. There's obviously some talented hitters in this game, so it's not like I'm going to be upset if I'm getting some one-offs or even, if I get a couple Brewer stacks or Nat stacks or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think that either one ends up being a really popular part of the night for me. Corbin's allowed a 186 expected ISO to righties. So like you said, a cheap Braun, a cheap Grandal, they're both, pretty appealing. And then from the Nats, you just obviously have, a great hitters in Soto, Rendon. You have the stolen base upside from Turner. But I just don't think any are going to grade out as like top plays.
Yeah. Kane for 3,400 is probably my favorite thing in this game, and that's still incredibly uninteresting.
Yeah, I'll say Braun at 38 is probably mine, but Kane is certainly there too.
Yeah, no issue with Braun. He's probably second. Actually, Keston here, if he's hitting second, 4,300 for a second baseman. But again, we're grabbing a bunch of guys against Pat Corbin, so it's not as if it's a fun spot to be in. Sorry, just had to remove somebody. Didn't take long. 9:30 in the morning. Way too much anger. So, adios, my man.
I'm not a morning person either. I get it.
I mean, I don't know if you need to be slurring people up in a YouTube chat at 9:45 a.m. That's probably a sign of bigger issues, but what are you gonna do? To the Phillies and Padres. Basically a coin flip game, 4.5 runs on either side. Vince Velasquez going for the Phils, Chris Paddock going for the Padres. Velasquez at 13% on Yahoo, 8 on FanDuel, 23 on DraftKings. Meanwhile, Chris Paddock going essentially unowned across the board. I didn't get the sense that Vince Velasquez was going to get that much ownership, yet here we are with Vince getting the second most on DraftKings right now. I think we need to start there. How do you feel about Vince Velasquez as an SP2? Does his ownership change anything for you?
I like it. I don't worry about pitcher ownership all that much, especially on slates of this size, because your hitter, as long as your hitters are gonna be the easiest spot to differentiate, and so I'm not too worried about that. Especially on slates where there's not really pivots around him that I love. I don't really want to go to like Tanaka for $100 more. So I like Velasquez here. You do have a lot of strikeouts in the Padres lineup. Their active roster has the 5th highest strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching since the start of last year. They do have power, which is a legitimate concern for Velasquez. But, against righties this year, a 26% strikeout percentage, 231 expected ISO. So I think the upside's clearly there. It's dangerous, and if you want to get to some guys, Machado, Renfroe, Tatis being out is a benefit for Velasquez as well, obviously. Yeah. I think that he's a good SP2 play, but there's certainly risk.
Yeah, I expected to be using him. I didn't expect him to get to that sort of ownership. You mentioned Tanaka, $100 more. I think I would rather have Kenta Maeda at $100 less, just given the ownerships. I prefer Velasquez, but if one's at 23 and the other is at 5, that's the only time I ever really care about ownership in pitching, just relative to the guy next to him, basically.
Right.
And that's a spot where, I would switch to Maeda in a single entry or a 3 max instead of going Morton Velasquez. I'd go Morton Maeda, and I think that would be just enough.
Sure.
But I understand why I would get to more Velasquez just in general.
Yeah, but my counterpoint to that is, let's say I don't have the team ownerships in front of me, but just hypothetically, let's say that you have a Yankee stack and a 3 max that isn't getting any ownership.
Yeah.
You want your top pitcher there.
Agreed.
And
absolutely,
with there being 30 offenses on the slate, most offenses you go to are going to have very little ownership. So I'm going to end up just choosing the guy that I have projected the highest.
Perfect way to explain that. If my 5-man stack was the Rockies, then I would want Maeda as my SP2.
Right. Yeah. It goes back to, we talk about ownership, and it's easiest, obviously, and it's easiest to talk about it in terms of, entire teams and everything else. But when you're evaluating your lineup, you want to evaluate each position in your lineup.
Yeah.
And, once you're contrarian, you don't need to keep doing it.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're going with a relatively chalky stack, make a pivot somewhere else. If you're going with an already unowned stack, it doesn't matter what you're picking a pitcher. You're already beating everybody.
Right.
What about Chris Paddock? He's kind of underpriced-ish. I don't know. Or is Bryce Harper just going to hit a walk-off grand slam?
Harper's not really liking all the underrated talk on Twitter, I don't think. He's been on fire. But Paddock's interesting to me. He's not been great lately. He obviously doesn't go deep in the games. Like, you're probably going to get 90 to 95 pitches if he's pitching well. But he's kind of in a price tier by himself. Like, you have Mike Minor against the Twins in Texas. That's not particularly appealing to me. You have Odorizzi in Texas. Not super appealing. Soroka's against the Dodgers. I don't know. Paddock's really good. The Phillies are, middle of the road matchup. It's not a great park. Ultimately, I don't think I get to tons of Paddock, but I do think he's my favorite pitcher between Patrick Corbin and, my God, John Gray.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going to say John Gray, and I didn't know if you were going to be like, he's just my favorite pitcher from Corbin down.
What'd you say?
I thought you were just going to be like, well, like once you started looking at it, if you didn't get to Gray, I was waiting for you to just be like, actually, he's my favorite pitcher below Corbin.
Yeah, down to Gray.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think I'm on the same page. There's just sort of too many decent arms today, so he's just kind of getting pinched out in that sort of no man's land in the 9K range. But I have no problem with him. On a different slate, it would probably like yesterday's slate probably looks really good.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. That's how I expect it to go for me. I expect it to be like the exposure I get to Paddock is in lineups where I have the stack and the one-offs and the SP, the other pitcher that I want. And it's just like, okay, well, I can put in John Gray or I can put in Chris Paddock because I have $9,400.
Yep. Phillies, not really getting any ownership, completely unowned on FanDuel. A little bit going to Rhys Hoskins on DraftKings. Meanwhile, the Padres are 6th on FanDuel, 9th on DK. A lot of that just going to Hunter Renfroe on FanDuel at 21%. Neither team really getting stacked up. It's Hedges and Machado on DK. I have the Padres as my 5th ranked team today. Do you like targeting against Velasquez, especially with the ownership?
I like mini stacks and one-offs. I don't think I'll get to a ton of full stacks, but the Padres are affordable. It's a really good home run park. It's a pitcher that gives up home runs, and it's a team that, despite not having Tatis and losing Reyes, still has power. Machado, Renfroe specifically, Hedges as a catcher is fine. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's most likely I'll just be getting like Manny Machado and Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah, and I will never have a problem with really any of that. 4,400 is not great, especially seeing Hoskins at 3,800. But Eric Hosmer here as an unowned first base option intrigues me in Philadelphia, at least.
Yeah, it's fine. It's obviously like he's not a power hitter by first base standards,
right?
But it is a park upgrade for him, and it's not like he has zero power.
Exactly. But just for a completely unowned dude against Vince Velasquez in Philadelphia, I don't mind if he's the guy that I get a little bit more of from San Diego. Who's the favorite?
Josh Naylor has power too, and he's cheap.
Yeah. And potentially hitting second.
Yeah.
Favorite bat in the game. It's kind of tricky. The pricing's weird.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's tricky too because like the best hitters were on Philly, but I don't really want to target against Paddock.
Yeah, my favorite hitter is 3% owned Bryce Harper on DraftKings. Like, is that just the answer by default?
It's got to be up there, like him or Machado.
Yeah. Harper leading off 4,500 in Philly, coming off of the walk-off grand slam. I'll take that at no ownership.
I think it's Machado for me because you factor in the positions too.
Yeah, doesn't hurt. And again, like he's at 12% ownership. That's still nothing.
Right. And also, if you want to kind of think about it even deeper, like, so Velasquez is a high strikeout guy that gives up home runs. Ideally, you're going to get a power hitter that doesn't strike out a lot and is going to put the ball in play because a high percentage of balls in play against Velasquez are crushed.
Yeah.
And Machado, since the start of last year, has a 211 ISO against righties, but he's also only struck out 18.8% of the time. So whereas, you look at Hunter Renfroe, who has more power than Machado, he's a 30% strikeout guy. So that's like a really boom or bust spot. Whereas Machado is going to hit the ball against Velasquez,
Yes,
and Velasquez gives up power, and Machado has power.
Do you think you'll have any Philly stacks?
Not a lot.
Same page.
I'll probably have some just because they're really. I would guess that I have at least one because they're really cheap, but I don't think that I get to much.
Off to the Pirates. I guess we're staying in the state of Pennsylvania. 4.2 run implied total for Pittsburgh, 4.8 for the Cubs, 57% chance to win for Chicago. Joe Musgrove going for the Pirates. I feel like Joe Musgrove pitches every day. Kyle Hendricks going for the Cubs. Musgrove, 17% ownership on DraftKings. Surprise, surprise. Every day he pitches, he's owned in like the teens because he's priced in the same spot every day. No ownership going to Hendricks. I have no interest in Kyle Hendricks. Do you have interest in Joe Musgrove?
Not really. Like, I'll probably get to some Musgrove just because he's cheap. He's a good point per dollar option, but he's just not a good strikeout pitcher. He should be better than he is, but he's at 20.8% for the season. 5.9% walk percentage is nice, but middling 4.5 Sierras and xFIPs. Like, he's just not as good DFS wise as I kind of thought and hoped he would be. And it's not a great matchup against the Cubs either. You do have a lot of good hitters in this lineup. It's a decent park. I think I get to some just because he's a good point per dollar SP2, but I don't think I get to tons.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I'm going to have like 10 to 15%. It's just sort of what happens when Joe Musgrove is on a slate. So long as he's not in cores or something, it's just sort of the same situation always. He's better than usually what garbage is on the slate. I prefer when we get one of those viable 4,500 pitcher days where you don't have to take Musgrove, but I don't know. I'll have him and I won't be happy about it. I hope that he maintains some ownership because I'd rather get to a little bit of Cubs who are unowned. And while that didn't go as well as I would have liked it to yesterday, I'm still going to go back to the well, although not nearly with the same amount of volume. They won't be my number one stack, but how do you feel about the Cubs against Musgrove?
Kind of neutral.
Yeah. Like they're 12th for me, so I guess that's kind of a neutral answer too, but they're also so like they are my 12th ranked stack, so I guess that's kind of like a neutral answer, but they're 24th in ownership. So if they're either 1 or 2% and I'm at 4 or 5, I like that, but it's also a completely nothing answer.
Right. Musgrove's given up more expected power to righties than lefties this year, has a higher strikeout percentage against righties. I think any of the power guys here, Castellanos, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez if he's back, Schwarber, they're all fine if they end up in a lineup, but they're also nowhere near the top of guys at their positions that I would want.
Yeah, Schwarber 256 x ISO to Joe Musgrove's comparable pitch types. I always like to look at that, for the like tiebreaker type stuff, just to make sure stuff sort of looks okay. And it's not as if I ever have a problem getting to Kyle Schwarber, so might be a decent day, especially in Pittsburgh where lefty power is neutral and righty power goes to die. So, any Pirates bats for you? They are the 28th ranked team for me, so I think you can get my answer.
Nope.
Yeah.
Frazier's a good value.
Yeah,
that's it.
He's $9 on Yahoo. That is the place I would like him the most. But no one in this game outside of pitching has an ownership percentage north of 3. Just not that kind of game. Keeping it going. Yeah. Ooh, did you have something or were you just agreeing?
No, I was agreeing. I was saying that I could very easily just forget this game's playing.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if it rained in Pittsburgh tonight.
Right.
Blue Jays and Mariners. 5.4 run implied total for the Jays. 4.6 for the Mariners. 58% chance to win for Toronto. Jacob Wagsback going for the Jays. I assume it's Wade LeBlanc going for the Mariners. Neither guy getting any ownership. Neither guy should. Will you have either one?
Not planning on it, no.
Okay, yeah. This is probably the least appealing pitching matchup on the slate, but I don't want to say that too soon. Hitting, on the other hand, The Blue Jays are 4th in ownership on both FanDuel and DK. The Mariners are 13th on FanDuel, 5th on DraftKings. I don't disagree with the fact that I would want some offense, but I don't get the sense I'm going to stack it up a lot. I have the Blue Jays behind their ownership rank. I have the Mariners well behind. What do you want to do with this game? I can't get a feel for it.
I like Domingo Santana. He's 3,800 on DraftKings. Wags back, limited sample so far, but he shouldn't be very good, and he's been getting absolutely blown up by righties. 417 expected WOBA, 282 expected ISO. It's again small sample, so I don't expect him to be good against lefties and terrible against righties, but I don't expect him to be good overall anyway. Santana's got a lot of power. He's inexpensive, so he stands out. But the Mariners are just kind of appealing. They're at appealing price tags anyway. I don't know that I get tons, but if you're looking to pay up for 2 pitchers, I think that you can get a pretty nice stack out of Seattle. And really the same goes for Toronto. Vlad Guerrero at 3,900 is super appealing. Grichuk, Hernandez, both look really good. I think I actually get to some bats in this game.
Okay. I think I'm going to get to more one-offs than stacks. I like a little bit more of the Blue Jays bats than I do the Mariners bats. Basically anything in the top 5 for Toronto grading out well. They're just kind of all over the place. Like Grichuk is $18 on Yahoo, which I just can't imagine doing on a slate like this. I don't know. I'm going to have a little bit, but I think they're going a little over-owned. Trying to see where they grade out. Yeah. I'll be under the field. Vlad at 17 on a day like today is kind of surprising, but 3,900 will do that. I do like that Domingo Santana call, though. He's $10 on Yahoo. Seattle in general pretty cheap on Yahoo outside of Kyle Seager for $20. Must have thought he was Corey Seager.
Santana just has too much power to be as cheap as he is.
Yeah. I wish I had like a fun take for this game. I just really don't. I mean, it's amazing sometimes to see Malik Smith, JP Crawford, and Omar Narvaez be 3 guys that are over 10% owned on DK, but what are you going to do? This is like a really unappealing. This is just as unappealing as that Pirates game in that I don't really have anything to say.
I mean, I like it way more, but so does everyone.
Yeah.
That'll end up being the issue. It's not that I dislike the Blue Jays or even the Mariners, especially at their prices, but they're going to pop into lineups because they're such good values. And so there's a really good chance I end up being underweight.
Yeah, that's perfect. I don't mind them, but because of their price tags, they're in more lineups than I would like.
Yeah, like when I make my lineups, if I look and I'm like getting tons of Pirates or Cubs, I would be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
If I'm getting tons of Blue Jays or Mariners, I'd be okay, that makes sense. I must just have like contrarian one-offs or something.
Yep. Rays and Tigers. This one is easy. 4.8 run implied total for the Rays, 2.7 for the Tigers. That is the lowest implied total on the slate. They are the only team below 3, and just using my numbers, they have a lower implied total by a full run compared to the next closest team. Charlie Morton going for the Rays, 74% chance to win. Daniel Norris going for the Tigers. Morton, 49% ownership on Yahoo, 27 on FanDuel, 36 on DK. I'd be very surprised if you told me you didn't think Charlie Morton was the best option today.
Yeah, number 1 pitcher.
Yeah. I don't have hot takes. The Tigers are really bad against righties, the worst team in the league. Charlie Morton is one of the best pitchers in the league. Let's say top 10. I think that's probably a safe top 15.
Yeah, top 15.
Yeah. I know you get into these debates about ranking players, so I don't want to start.
Well, I don't think top 10. I don't think top 10 is crazy. I definitely would feel safe saying top 15.
Okay. I don't have anything else to say. Charlie Morton is the best pitcher on the slate. I want to have a bunch of him. I don't get the sense that that'll be hard. I don't think that I'll be flying over the 36% number. That feels, not that, I don't want to say that it feels high, but that is a high number for a 15-game slate.
When he's over double the ownership of Justin Verlander, it starts to become kind of appealing to find the money for Verlander.
Right. But even still, he's just, it's evidence of how good this matchup is. There's not a negative anywhere to be found.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking really you're comparing him to Verlander, and Verlander is facing an A's team that's tough to strike out in a park that's favorable for pitchers, but actually downplays strikeouts. Or you can take Charlie Morton in a great park for pitchers against a bunch of guys who won't be in the major leagues a year from now.
That's so true. While Miguel Cabrera continues to just cash in $30 million a year or whatever he makes.
Yeah. He had a bomb yesterday.
I would imagine that. God, it's probably. I'm trying to look at the names. Do you think Miguel Cabrera makes more in this season than everyone else in the lineup plus the starter combined?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's probably nobody in this lineup outside of Cabrera making more than $500,000.
Yeah, I don't know how much. The only one that I didn't know was I didn't know how much Nico Goodrum was making.
Definitely not enough to make up the gap.
No, not at all. That is an interesting way to look at things. And I don't get the sense that Daniel Norris is rolling in it right now either. All of these guys making more money than us, though, so what the hell do we know? I love Charlie Morton. Do you like the Rays against Norris? Because I'm not getting there. I would have thought I would.
I don't really love it. It's not a great park. Not a super appealing lineup. No Avisail Garcia, lefties in Sogard and Choi probably. I think that Zunino or D'Arnaud, whoever's in the lineup, is a good catching option. I think Tommy Pham's a really good play, but I don't know. I don't really love it.
I don't like they rank 26th for me, but I mean Norris gets bombed by both hands. He's not great. It's just like I don't know. There was a stretch during the season where I thought the Rays were like way better, and now they're just not.
Yeah, I think a lot will depend how the lineup actually looks. Like the projected lineup I'm looking at is pretty unappealing.
Yeah, I mean, how interested are you? It's only going to be in one-off scenarios, I guess. But like Zunino today seems like a really good, completely unowned play.
I love Zunino. I think Zunino's a good play. I think Adames is a good play. But like if Adames is hitting 9th, it's less appealing.
Yeah.
I think Pham's a really good play.
Yeah.
Like Brosseau is okay. It's just that I don't really want all the like Heredia and Matt Duffy and like Eric Sogard mixed in.
Yeah, they've become like sneaky not appealing like that. It's a weird lineup.
But if they run out a lineup where they bump Willy Adames to 6th and Pham's at the top and Zunino's moved up or D'Arnaud's in there or something like that, like the Rays can make this an appealing lineup depending on how it comes out.
Yeah, I would say they are the team most like they can change a bit and have even more interesting small pieces. I don't get the sense they'll ever be like a really appealing stack, but they could start pulling some of that ownership from like the Blue Jays Mariners side with the right movement because no one's really expensive. I'm not even going to say anything about the Tigers. We're not rostering Tigers.
Nope.
If you would have been like, who I really like? Jake Rogers. I would have been like, who's Jake Rogers? Red Sox and Orioles. All right, here's the first biggie. 7-run implied total for Boston, 4.5 for the Orioles. Yes, the Orioles are projected to lose by 2.5 runs. That's what happens when Rick Porcello is on the hill for Boston. Aaron Brooks going for Baltimore. Porcello, 6% ownership on Yahoo, 6 on FanDuel, 15 on DK. Brooks clearly unowned. We don't need to talk about Brooks. I don't think we like that sort of punishment in our lives. I don't need 15% Rick Porcello, but clearly I understand why it's happening.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, the Orioles have a pretty low implied run total. People think Porcello's decent. He's cheap. I understand it. I would rather get to the Orioles, I think.
Yeah. That is not something I expected to hear. Let's start with the Red Sox, though, first, and we'll circle back to it. Sox are chalk. 2nd on FanDuel, 3rd on DraftKings. You guys know the good plays on Boston. I don't have an issue with having the Red Sox. They grade out as my top stack of the day. While they are chalky on DK, they're still half of the Rockies. They're I mean, 60% of the ownership of the Marlins right now. I have no problem having them. They're too good, and this is too good of a spot. Anything weird for you for Boston? Do you not want them?
No, I mean, looking at our projected ownership for them right now, 4 guys over 10% and nobody over 20. It's just a spot where it's obviously a really good spot, and it's easy to look at it and be like, oh, it's so obvious they're going to be really popular. But there's 29 other offenses. There's a game in cores. It's just not going to be high enough owned that I'm going to want to get away.
Yeah, I just can't do it. Marco Hernandez, 19% ownership on FanDuel. That'll probably come down a little bit, but pushing it up. You can't avoid it. It's too good. So sign me up for Boston. Probably more so than the field, just because of that, the way that the ownership is set up. It's even easier to stack them, in my opinion. So Baltimore, they're unowned. They are my 17th ranked team. So they actually have the dead last amount of ownership in the aggregate on DK. Which means that their ranking between my rank and their ownership rank is a 13 spot gap. That is the third biggest gap on the slate. I'm going to have some Baltimore here. So talk to me about what you like, other than the fact that, you live 30 seconds from there.
Right. So I don't know how much I actually get to, but if I were like playing one lineup and my only choice was play Rick Porcello or stack the Orioles, I would probably lean towards Orioles bats, or roster an Orioles bat. I would probably lean toward the O's. Like, I like VR, I like Mancini. Nunez has a ton of power. Cisco's an okay catcher option. DJ Stewart might be back. It's not a terrible offense. It's not a good one, but they have some pretty decent hitters, and it's more so that I just don't think Porcello is good. He's
6
striking
lefties.
out. Yeah, he's for against lefties this year, 16% strikeout percentage, 235 expected ISO. Against righties, 20.1% strikeout percentage, 204 expected ISO. I understand why Porcello projects well for his salary, and I understand why he'll be rostered. I just don't think he's a good pitcher, and I don't think the Orioles are a terrible offense.
Yeah, this is going to be a spot where I end up with like 4% Orioles stacks, and I'm not mad about it at all. It fails more often than it succeeds, but
the thing that will stop me from getting the Orioles is they're expensive.
Yeah, VR at 5,100, Mancini 49. Well, I mean, those two guys are right-ish. $22 on FanDuel or on Yahoo, 24 for Mancini. That's expensive.
Right. It's not like they're overpriced, but relative to some of the other options you can get, they are. And it's not like you can get a really cheap stack, because then you're getting $4,600 Santander, $4,300. Even Peterson and Cisco up around 4K. It's just not a really. It's not. If I'm stacking the Orioles, it would be to get like expensive pitching.
Yeah.
I'm not really looking to get a bad SP2 with my Orioles stack.
And this is part of the reason the Orioles are getting literally no ownership. They're not cheap, and it's rough. But as long as Porcello maintains some ownership, I'll get them just by default because of the way that I sort my lineups. Favorite bat in the game?
Anyone on the Red Sox?
Yeah, that seems like a safe answer.
Mookie or JD, flip a coin.
Mitch Moreland, unowned at 4,500.
Yeah, that's pretty appealing.
Yeah. I mean, the only downside really is just the fact that lefty power doesn't play up in Boston, but I don't care all that much.
Yeah.
Not with that 7-run implied total. All right, here we go. Last game at 7:10 or earlier, the Reds and the Cardinals, 4.9 run implied total for Cincinnati, 4.1 for the Cards, 59% chance to win for those Reds. Luis Castillo going for Cincinnati, Adam Wainwright going for the Cards. Man, I feel like the Cardinals just run out a bunch of guys that are the same person. Like, I say Adam Wainwright here, I picture Michael Wacha, and then I just picture both of them as the same person either way. I feel like if Dakota Hudson ever has like 2 really good years, I'll have that same sort of feel in like 2026. Luis Castillo, 25% ownership on Yahoo, 6 on FanDuel, 16 on DraftKings. Wainwright, no ownership whatsoever. I'm honestly a little surprised that Castillo is getting as much ownership as he is. I figured this was a spot where he's going to slip through the cracks. Not that I don't like him, but this Cardinals lineup is not the same Cardinals lineup that was bad a month ago.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought Castillo maybe would be projected a little bit lower, but I do like him here.
Yeah.
He's a really good pitcher. He has the fourth highest strikeout percentage on the slate behind Verlander, Giolito, and Morton. 3.54 xFIP, 3.97 Sierra. Walks too many guys, and the Cardinals are healthy, like you said. So also not a great park. So I like Castillo. It's still not in the same ballpark as how much I like Morton.
Do you like him more than Giolito?
Yes.
Oh. Those are the two guys that I have like super. I mean, I've Giolito, Castillo, and Corbin are separated by 0.8 of a point. Giolito coming in with my highest strikeout projection and no ownership whatsoever. So that little trio is where I'm intrigued by how it shakes out for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind not getting Castillo here, but it still scares me because he's good.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to have some, but I'm going to prioritize Morton over him even at their ownerships.
Okay, so we've talked about a few of these guys right now. I think it'd be good to try to put this in perspective. 7 guys above 10K. Verlander, Morton, Giolito, Castillo, Corbin, Syndergaard, Minor. Are there tiers for you here?
Yeah, it's Morton, Verlander, and then drops off to Castillo, and then like a small drop to Corbin, Giolito.
Okay.
And then like falls off the face of the earth to Syndergaard.
Oh, you are such a Syndergaard hater.
He's not good.
I love this.
He's good. Like he's okay at pitching. He's not good for DFS.
I understand what you're saying.
He's a ground ball pitcher that gets a lot of weak contact.
But he's Thor.
Yeah, well, he should be better than he is.
Any Wainwright.
He's kind of interesting to me. He's projected to be 2% owned. I wish that there were more right-handed bats in the Cincinnati lineup because he's actually been like downright good against righties this year. He's struck out 24%, sub 300 expected WOBA. Against lefties, 21.5% strikeout percentage, 352 x WOBA, 174 x ISO, and going into a park that plays up power. So it's not really appealing facing, if Votto's back, having to face, Winker, Votto, probably Van Meter, Galvis, all left-handed. But he is affordably priced. He's getting no ownership. So I can see getting some. If Votto's out, I think that's a bump for him.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Explain to me why Joey Votto being not in the lineup is a benefit for Adam Wainwright. Ultimately, I don't get the sense I'm going to have much of either pitcher. I mean, I'm definitely not going to have Wainwright in any sort of volume, but I think Castillo's a guy that gets pinched out to either get me more Morton or cover your ears, slightly more Noah Syndergaard. Reds right now, 12th in ownership on FanDuel, 11th on DraftKings. I don't even know why I'm saying it like this. They're just unowned, even at middle of the pack. No one higher than 6% on Cincinnati. Van Meter at 11 on FanDuel. No one else higher than 4. So for this exercise, we can treat the Reds and the Cardinals as unowned. I slightly prefer the Cardinals just overall, but I don't get the sense that I want either team.
I prefer the Reds. Wainwright's just not nearly as good as Castillo. And they do have those left-handed bats with Winker, possibly Votto, Van Meter, all having some power. Suarez is a really good hitter. Aquino's got tons of power. Really good park. I don't know. I like getting to games in Cincinnati when there's like no ownership, and targeting against Wainwright seems more appealing to me than targeting against Castillo.
Yeah, ultimately, I don't expect to be targeting anything here. Couple one-off bats. That's probably it. I don't know. Not my spot today. All right, perfect time for everyone to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I don't know why my dog just got off the couch, which was comfortable to lay on the damn hardwood, but whatever. Coming up later today, lots of stuff. So immediately after this, 11:30, Awesemo Odds betting show. Going to be Ben Rasa and Nolan Kelly. No Jordan Frank. He is off celebrating the birth of his child, so congrats to Jordan and his wife. They will be talking live betting the FedEx Cup. They'll be talking about some NCAA football coming back soon enough. A little bit more NFL talk. Then at 1 o'clock, it'll be Jake and myself doing the Yahoo Specific Strategy Show. Deeper dive today. Jake and Adam running through all of these games again, 4:45. And then we're just abusing Jake tonight. Live before lock, myself, Jake Hari, taking you all the way up to 7 o'clock. Plugs are in. Actually, you know what? It's time for one more plug. Head to our Twitter account, awesemo_com. Find the pinned tweet. We are doing a monster giveaway. Here's the deets. So you head to the pinned tweet at awesemo_com. You'll need to retweet that tweet, like it, and reply with the player that stands out most to you in Awesemo's, Alex Baker's, season-long rankings and projections. If you think someone is ranked too high, too low, if you have a guy that you think is going to be a big-time value play, all you have to do is reply to that in the tweet. You got to retweet it, like, and reply. You need to be following the Awesemo_com Twitter account and the @Awesemo NFL account. All of this needs to be done by midnight on August 19th. We will then randomly pick 10 winners on August 20th. If you are a current Awesemo Plus subscriber, you can win a 30-minute coaching session with Alex. I cannot explain to you guys how valuable that is. He thinks about all of this in a much different way than most people, and to be able to pick his brain for 30 minutes and get some tips, whether that's NFL tips, if you're still playing baseball, if you like some other sports, being able to pick his brain is super valuable. Not to mention, you can win an additional month of Awesemo Plus. So go check out that pinned tweet. Highly recommend you do this. It's only going to take about a minute or two of your time, and nothing but benefit to come out of it. I would be doing, if I didn't have access to Alex on a day-to-day basis, I would be doing that too. And I don't take nearly as much advantage of bending his ear with all of the dumb stuff that hits me. But I don't think he needs deep thoughts with Josh from 9 o'clock at night after the vape pen gets a little aggressive.
Yeah, you waste your time by DMing me instead. But
that's very true. Very true. Oh, God, sometimes it's just... I don't know. I mean, the creative thoughts get flowing. Most of them need to go directly into the garbage, but every once in a while, there's a nugget in there that's helpful. Keeping it moving here. The only other 7 o'clock game, 7:20 start, Atlanta Braves, LA Dodgers. 5.1 run implied total for the Braves, 4.9 for the Dodgers. We've got Mike Soroka going for Atlanta, Kenta Maeda going for the Dodgers. Soroka is unowned across the industry. Middling price tag in a really difficult matchup. Not that he gets bombed, but this is just not the spot for Soroka. I can't imagine you're interested. Maeda,
this is another game that I'm just not really interested in much at all. Soroka is just not a high strikeout guy, but he is good at getting ground balls. He is really good at inducing weak contact. One of the lowest barrels per batted ball percentages. It's a really tough matchup against the Dodgers, so I'm not looking to go there. I could see getting some Dodgers just because of how good they are, but with how big the slate is, I don't really think I end up doing that. And then, like on the other side, Kenta Maeda's price tag is appealing, but the matchup sucks. The Braves have a 5.3 implied run total. They have a lot of lefties in their lineup, which is not appealing for Maeda. But I also don't really love targeting against Maeda, so I don't know. I don't see a whole lot in this game right now.
So I'm intrigued by Maeda if he's unowned. In the trio of Velasquez, Maeda, Porcello, I have them all really comparable. In my target score metric, not that it matters in this regard, Maeda coming in 0.1% higher than Velasquez, so that's a lock if I've ever heard one. I'm happy to get there if he's unowned. I get that the Braves are not an appealing spot, but I'm willing to take my chances on Maeda.
So you like Maeda more than Wainwright?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that by a lot, at least as of right now. I expect to have more than the 5% of Maeda. Not that makes me super excited. And then from a hitting perspective, the Dodgers rank 11th for me. The Braves rank 12th. There are spots I like. I mean, again, Soroka doesn't get bombed. Jock Peterson is $2,800 on FanDuel and $11 on Yahoo. I can't ignore that. But this is It's just a good game between two good teams and two like solid pitchers.
Yeah.
It's hard for anything to break free.
Where,
I didn't hear
sorry,
what you said.
what'd you say?
I didn't hear you either, so you go.
No, it's a game where, like, if the slate were smaller, if this were like an 8-game slate, I would love going to both of these offenses because even though I think both pitchers are good, there's so much talent amongst the hitters. But with it being a full slate, ownership, like even the highly owned hitters are just going to be lower owned. And so you're just not getting as much of an advantage by looking to take talented hitters in bad spots.
Feels a lot like Nats Brewers from an offense perspective.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't get the sense I'll get a lot of anything. And anything I do get, I'm not mad about. Like,
right.
Just because of how talented some of these guys are. But it's just not a volume game, in my opinion. Alrighty. Keeping it moving into the 8 o'clock games. Rangers and Twins. 4.8 runs on both sides. Coin flip game. Mike Minor for the Rangers. Jake Odorizzi for the Twins. I'm going to need your help here. So Mike Minor is grading out really well for me today. Staggeringly so. To the point where it makes me feel like I've made some sort of mistake. Odorizzi not grading out like anything crazy. Wouldn't mind having him, but let's just talk about it. So let's start here. I've got Mike Minor in for 6.5 innings. Is that preposterous?
For 6.5?
Yeah.
Seems high, but not
that
insane.
Is what he has averaged over the last 365 days.
Okay, well, it should be lower than that then. Wait, did you say innings or Ks?
Innings.
I thought you said Ks. I was like, that seems high. It still seems high.
Well, I have more than that, so we can put a pin in that one.
I mean, if that's what he's averaging, it should be lower because he's facing the Twins.
Fair enough. Can't go too much lower. I do have a method to my madness in this one, but I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't too crazy. But I don't disagree that if that's what he's averaging, it should be slightly lower. I do have him for more Ks than that 6.5 number that came out. So let's touch on that one. Once whatever I just typed in fixes itself in the sheet. You know, I really wish that I could pause the world for like a day or two just to rebuild this damn Excel spreadsheet. I don't have the time right now, but whatever I did in the past, what must have been some real piss poor coding in the back end, because anytime I make a change on a big slate, I have to like cross my fingers and toes and everything to hope that it doesn't die in front of me. Twins project for me to have a slightly aggressive and above average strikeout rate in this spot. You know, they have spots like Kepler and Rosario and Polanco who don't strike out a ton. Guys like Jake Cave, Sano probably do. How would you rate this as a strikeout matchup?
Middle of the pack, I guess. Because, you know, like you said, there are strikeouts in here.
Yeah. So I have Mike Minor projected for 18.1 DraftKings points. That is the lowest number of everybody that is above 10K. So I don't want it to seem like I'm getting an insane amount, but does 18 feel crazy?
It's a lot higher than I think I'll have him.
Okay. I'm trying to...
Yeah, I'm like 14.5, 15-ish.
Okay. So I'm just trying to reconcile what could be causing this big discrepancy for me. Because it stood out to me immediately when I saw it. I was like, oh, I think the Twins are good. This game is in Texas. I don't think Minor's all that spectacular. And yet, he's grading out like a guy where he's at 1% expected ownership, and I'm anticipating getting like 15 to 20. I'm not comfortable with it, but I don't really know why it's coming up the way that it is. Unless it's just that sort of innings volume that, you know, I don't expect to be great, but 171 x ISO to lefties over the past 2 seasons, 173 to righties, you know, an average strikeout rate. He does maintain relatively low expected WOBA numbers, even given the sort of power boost. 293 to lefties, 309 to righties. Is he just sort of like the lefty Syndergaard?
Except totally different, but
what I mean is, avoiding major blowouts. Like, it doesn't see those ex-WOBA numbers. I mean, that's low.
Yeah, no, he's a good pitcher. He's not a great strikeout pitcher, but he's not bad. It's just that I think he's a good pitcher.
Do you think he's a better pitcher than Noah Syndergaard?
No.
Okay. You would pick Syndergaard over Minor in a single start if you're starting Game 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you hate Minor in this spot?
From hate is in I think he gets blown up, or hate is in I have no interest in rostering him.
Either way. This is basically just a personal show for me right now.
I don't hate him as in like I think the Twins are the best stack on the slate. I hate him as in I don't think I'm rostering him.
Okay. I'm hoping that the line moves, the lineup changes, and then when I refresh this, I realize that I just don't have him. But as of right now, I don't know how to get away from him. His underlying stats for me are becoming problematic. Hopefully, when Alex puts his projections out in the next hour or so, I can just get rid of this Mike Minor love affair. But here we are. What about Odorizzi against the Rangers?
Still a really tough park. A lot of lefties here for Odorizzi, which is appealing because he's just better against them. Has been for most of his career. For the season, he has a 26.5% strikeout percentage against lefties, 296 ex-WOBA, 135 ex-ISO. Against righties, he has a 210 ex-ISO, but there's not really right-handed power in this lineup. So it's a decent spot. He's just a little bit more expensive than I would like, especially in this park. I think that I would rather be going expensive pitcher plus take a chance on a cheap guy than take a chance on a $9,200 Odorizzi.
Yeah, I just don't see it for him today. I would rather have Paddock.
Yeah, so would I.
I mean, that's really as easy as it gets. And obviously, I would rather go up to Mike Minor. Neither here nor there.
I'd rather Odorizzi than Minor, I think.
Okay. So Twins right now, 5th in ownership on FanDuel, 6th on DraftKings. I have them as my number 6 stack. Still, no one really getting a lot of love. 10% Sano, 10% Crone, the two biggest numbers on DraftKings. How do you feel about the Twins against Minor?
I really like CJ Crone. I think 3,700 in this park is just too cheap.
Yeah. Hard for me to disagree there. $10 on Yahoo as well. Another price where, we might see him in a lineup when Jake and I get to it at 1 o'clock. Rangers bats against Odorizzi. They are 10th in ownership. That's pretty much just Chew.
It's not really that appealing for me because there's just not any right-handed power.
Yeah, it's certainly not Elvis Andrus or Kiner Falefa or DeShields or Mathis. Wow. So it's Andrus more than anyone else. Here are the 4 projected ISOs for the straight righties in this lineup from Steamer. 136, 103, 106, 103. That is like the opposite of power.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys want to make money tonight, use Mike Minor until I tell you otherwise. Don't be afraid to roster the Twins. I'm super nervous about this. Royals and Mets. Now we can talk about my other guy. You thought Mike Minor was bad. 3.9 run implied total for the Royals, 5.2 for the Mets, 63% chance to win for New York. Mike Montgomery going for the Royals. Noah Syndergaard going for the Mets. Syndergaard 6% on Yahoo, 6% on FanDuel, 8 on DK. Nothing going to Mike Montgomery. I assume you're going to tell me you will not have Syndergaard?
I don't anticipate having much Syndergaard.
Okay. I guess this one's on me.
I can make the argument for why he's a good play. I just don't think I get there.
Sure. I will make the argument for why I think he's a good play. He's, would we say, a hair above average as a strikeout pitcher?
Sure.
Average at the minimum. No issues with power whatsoever. An ex-ISO against lefties and righties over the past 2 seasons that is below 100. This season, the active roster for the Royals against righties. Pulling up the stats now, but I wrote about it in Spotlight Hitters. You could check that out on the Awesemo homepage. Not a great strikeout matchup. They are middle of the pack in terms of strikeout rate. They're 22nd, but could just as easily just be average. They don't have any real pop. A 162 ISO against righties is, I believe, 27th. 91 weighted runs created plus, a below average spot. By all accounts, Syndergaard should have no issue going deeper into this game. I think it's a nice spot for volume in a park that is really helpful. I think that he can cruise in this spot, especially if, BABIP is on his side. It wouldn't shock me to see him go 7 or 8. I don't think a complete game is out of the question here just for the way that this game sets itself up. I'm going to have Syndergaard. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably shouldn't have been as down on him as I was, just because it is a good spot and he is a good pitcher at preventing runs, and he does go deep into games, like you said. I still I would rather get to Morton or Verlander. I think I'd rather get to Castillo.
For me, I definitely want Syndergaard over Castillo here. Clearly, I want Morton and Verlander before.
Him being projected for 8% ownership is actually really appealing.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised by that.
I expect to be in the the high mid 20s, maybe.
I think that his ownership projection will come up. People love rostering this guy.
What would keep it down? What do you think would be keeping it at 8 right now?
I don't know, but I think that he ends up being higher owned than Castillo.
I would have expected to see their ownerships flipped.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't disagree.
Think he's higher owned than Corbin. I think he's higher owned than Castillo.
If that happens, I mean, it doesn't change the way that I feel about Syndergaard, but I get more appeal out of Castillo and Corbin from their upside in GPPs at lower numbers.
Right.
I hope that it maintains here because I would like to be higher on Syndergaard.
If he's 8%, I'm interested in Syndergaard.
There you go, coming around.
If he gets up to 20, I'm not.
All right, so I got you there on Syndergaard. Maybe you need to go back and listen to that Mike Minor bit again.
Yeah, no.
The Royals grade out as my 29th ranked stack, so I don't have anything to say here. Mets are 15th for me. They're not getting any ownership outside of Ahmed Rosario on FanDuel. Do you want to be stacking up the Mets against Montgomery?
I want to be rostering Montgomery.
Really?
Yeah, he's 5,200 on DraftKings at no ownership. The Mets are a dangerous matchup, but he's 5,200. He's fully stretched out. I'm trying, while you were talking about Syndergaard, I was trying to figure out what, if anything, he's changed. But his plate discipline numbers recently have been really good. Obviously, his last start was against Detroit, so that doesn't really count. But even the start before that against Boston, he had a 15.6% strikeout percentage, a 35.6% chase percentage. The start before that against Toronto, he had a 45% chase percentage. Two starts before that against Cleveland, he was at 40.7%. I mean, it's mostly just that he's really cheap, and I don't think he's a terrible pitcher. But yeah, I have interest in Montgomery as an SP too.
That is not something I expected to hear. Trying to look at the data now. God, he has not been good this year.
He has a 24.7% strikeout percentage as a starter this year. So 5 starts.
Yeah. I can't imagine I have Montgomery. Would you rather have Montgomery or our boy Sandy?
What'd you say?
Would you rather have Montgomery or our boy Sandy?
Montgomery.
Okay. I'm not going to be there. I hope that I don't need that salary.
I mean, so for the season, and this is including his bullpen numbers, so it's not perfect, but a 19.1% strikeout percentage, which is obviously below average, but for a $5,200 guy, it's not the end of the world. 4.02 xFIP, 4.49 SIERA. As a starter over those 5 starts, like I said, strikeout percentage up to 24.7%. The xFIP and SIERA are both great, but again, we're talking about 5 starts. But if you go back to the start of 2017, He's got a 17.5% strikeout percentage against both sides of the plate, 323 xWOBA to righties, 328 to lefties, no power to either side. I just think he's good enough to be 50. He's good enough for me to roster him at 5,200.
Man, I'd be scared of the Mets.
Yeah, I mean it's not great, but like I'd rather have Montgomery than Brooks. I'd rather have him than Alcantara. I'd rather have him than Savali. And then you get to Leak and Musgrove, who I think are interesting.
Yeah, I have Leak and Musgrove pretty sizably ahead of them. Leak in particular. So
I have Leak ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
I have them ahead too, but Montgomery is like the cheapest pitcher that I would roster.
Any bats standing out in this game?
Ahmed Rosario, if he's leading off again, he's been hitting really, really well, and he's affordable on DraftKings. On FanDuel though, he's been like free. He's still 2,500 on FanDuel. On Yahoo, he is 16, which is expensive. But yeah, especially on FanDuel, Ahmed Rosario.
Okay, I don't disagree. Heading to Coors. 4 games to go. Rockies, 7.3 run implied total, highest on the slate. Marlins, 5.2. It's a 67% chance to win for Colorado. John Gray going for the Rockies. Sandy Alcantara going for the Marlins. 8% ownership for Gray on Yahoo. 9 on FanDuel at just $7K. 13 on DraftKings at $8K. I'm assuming that you and I both like John Gray more than the ownership says.
You said you like him more?
I do.
Yeah. I agree. He's a good pitcher. It's a bad park. It's a good matchup, and the price tag accounts for that. Like if John Gray were facing Miami in Miami, he would be what, almost 10K?
Yeah.
Or should be almost 10K?
Yeah. Should be.
So you're clearly getting it factored into his price. You know, a 5 implied run total in Colorado is nothing.
Right. I really like the 7K price on FanDuel. That opens up a lot. I'm gonna have more than the field of John Gray. Yeah. Do you think that number? Where do you think that number goes? Do you think that holds at 13, or do you think that moves?
I think it probably ends up around 15.
Okay. Well, right now we have Patrick Sandoval at 19% ownership, $200 cheaper.
Yeah, I think that comes down.
Okay.
Maybe like Gray and Sandoval flip, but
okay. Yeah, as it creeps up, I get a little less interested. But the Marlins are bad.
Yeah, I mean, I hate rostering guys in Coors, especially with the way the ball carries or the ball flies now. But I think the price tag accounts for everything.
Right. Any Sandy?
No.
Okay. I don't disagree. Ownership right now. Rockies are first on both sites. Surprise, surprise. They're my 4th ranked team. I'm going to have Colorado because I can't imagine fading a team with a 7.3 run implied total. The Marlins right now, 3rd in ownership on FanDuel, 2nd on DraftKings. They are my 22nd ranked team. Do you want the Marlins in Coors today as chalk?
No.
Yeah, okay. Good. 32% ownership to Diaz right now on DraftKings at 3,400.
Great cash play.
Yep. Very, very great cash play. This is crazy ownership, man. 25% going to Lewis Brinson. These guys are cash plays, I guess. I do not want to be stacking up the Marlins against John Gray.
Here are John Gray's numbers in Coors since the start of last season. 155 in the 3rd innings pitched, 669 total batters faced, 332 WOBA allowed, 24.5% strikeout percentage, 7.8% walk percentage, 3.94 FIP, 3.48 xFIP, 52.4% ground ball percentage. Why are we attacking that really heavily with really bad hitters?
I have no idea. This is the biggest gap between where I have a team ranked and where they are coming in ownership. It's negative 20 spots for me. I will basically have 0 Marlins, and I couldn't be happier about it. This seems like the easiest fade of the day.
The Marlins have a 5 implied run total right now. And if you just look at the salaries in their lineup, it's comparable to like the Blue Jays, who have a 5.4 implied run total.
Yeah.
I have no idea why the Marlins. I mean, I have an idea, but I strongly disagree with the Marlins getting ownership here.
You and me both. Fade, fade, fade. Cash games, pay attention. It's a very different story. I hope that the ownership columns that I have right now of 0 from top to bottom maintain themselves at 7 o'clock. Let's talk Rockies bats. What do you plan on doing here? Is the ownership going to sway you at all? Anything interesting from looking at it?
I think I'll get to a lot of Rockies. It's a big enough slate where I'm not that worried about it, and especially so. The other thing is if Miami remains, if Miami continues to get as much ownership as we're projecting right now, that means that by fading Miami, like across all my lineups, if I'm really underweight on Miami, I can then be getting to the other popular offenses I like the Rockies.
Yeah.
I stand against one team. I don't need to do it against all of them. And if I don't have a lot of Miami guys, then I'm still different than the field. So it helps out there as well. But I want a lot of Rockies here. Alcantara's not great. Obviously, a huge park downgrade for him. Terrible bullpen behind him. And the Rockies are affordable too, outside of the top three, who are obviously the ones that you really want with Blackman, Story, and Arenado.
Yeah.
But having Murphy at 4,100 or Jonathan Daza in there for cheap, or Tapia at 4,500, it makes it so that the full stack is expensive, but it's not too expensive.
I can't imagine getting away from these guys. Don't need to be over the field. I have plenty of other options at the top, but I figure I get it like 8 to 10, 8 to 12% Rockies, and they're just rotated through with everybody else. I like it. It's hard to not like a 7.3 run implied total. Matthew Protowell continuing to be wrong. If you don't play Diaz, the stack isn't chalk. It's still chalk. They've got two other guys in the 10% range. They've got Lewis Brinson at 25. I mean, Diaz is still chalky, but they are still getting ownership further down than just Diaz.
But even to take it further back than that, my argument against Miami isn't even that they're popular. It's why, like, I don't want to pay $4,700 for John Birdie against John Gray instead of like a million other guys. Like if they were a middle of the road stack in ownership, it would still be a bad spot.
I completely agree. If I drop, that was a mistake. Typed it into FanDuel instead. Ooh, that actually corrected itself more. If I drop Diaz just to 10%, the Marlins aggregate ownership is still second. So they're still getting a ton of ownership one way or the other. No need to go crazy. Keeping it moving. 3 games to go. Diamondbacks and Giants. 4.8 run implied total for the Diamondbacks. 4.2 for the Giants. 56% chance to win for Arizona. Mike Leake going for the Diamondbacks. Jeff Samardzija going for the Giants. Leake, 9% owned on DK at 6K. No ownership going to Samardzija. We mentioned him before, but I've got some interest in Leake here. The price tag looks good, and the Giants' offense just isn't that good.
Yeah, I mean, I hate Leake. Leake's terrible, but the Giants are also bad. It's a pitcher's park. He's 6K. I'll have Leake.
Yeah, this is the guy that I probably want to pay down for most.
Yeah.
He's got the highest grade for me, the highest projection for me of anybody down there. He's at 15.8. I have him a tenth of a point ahead of Rick Porcello, obviously $1,000 cheaper. I actually have him 0.2 of a point behind John Gray, $2,000 cheaper. I'm just not going to be able to get away from Leake here.
Yeah, and when I look at all of my lineups that are doing well and have Mike Leake to go, I'm going to be really upset, but nothing you can really do. It's a good price tag.
You'll be nervous.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be looking at them like, oh, good, I still have Mike Leake to go.
Yeah, that's not the one you want in the chamber. It's like firing a blank.
Yeah.
If you're close enough, that blank can still do some damage, but got to be close. Any Samardzija?
I don't think so. Not at that price tag. If he were like the same price as Porcello, I'd be really interested.
Yeah, I can't do it. Diamondbacks are 9th in ownership on FanDuel, 15th on DraftKings. Giants are 7th and 8th. That is all just Brandon Belt and Stephen Vogt. You trying to get any offense in this game? Because I am certainly not.
David Peralta is a nice value. So is Jake Lamb. But overall, I'm not really interested.
Yeah, I mean, Belt looks great.
Yeah.
$8 on Yahoo. He's probably going to be our cash first baseman. There are so many decent offensive spots in this game, and in this slate, this is just not one of them. This is like the Pirates game for me. I hope it just falls off the slate.
Except for Leak.
Right. Diamondbacks are 25th for me. The Giants are 26th. I'm good. Angels and White Sox, 4.2 run implied total for the Angels, 3.9 for the White Sox. The 54% chance to win for LA. Patrick Sandoval going for the Angels. Lucas Giolito going for the White Sox. Sandoval, 27% owned on Yahoo, 13 on FanDuel, 19 on DK. Giolito, completely unowned. I don't understand Patrick Sandoval's ownership. What am I missing here?
He's facing the White Sox.
It's fair.
And he's $30 on Yahoo.
It's fair. 19% owned at 7,800 on DraftKings feels really incorrect.
Yeah. At AAA this year, 21.9% strikeout percentage, 11.6% walk percentage, 4.98 FIP. He's the only thing that makes it favorable is it's supposed to be like 67 degrees, and he's facing the White Sox.
I will have 0 here. I don't get it at all. I'd rather have Wainwright, Tanaka, Velasquez, Maeda, Porcello. That's just the first 5 guys below him.
I'll take Sandoval over Porcello, Wainwright, Maeda. Yeah, I'm definitely rostering Sandoval. Okay. I just not super happy about it.
How deep do you think he goes into this game?
Where is he? There he is.
Damn it, not Pablo.
I mean, he's thrown 95 and 96 pitches in his first 2 starts, so
okay.
It's an issue because he walks a lot of guys and he gets some strikeouts. But as far as having the ability to, like, the pitch count, there's not an issue.
Okay.
So I mean, I would expect he goes, like projecting, between 5 and 6.
Okay. I'll pull this up here. What's the White Sox walk rate?
That's what I was looking at. 5.9% against the pitching. So their active roster against lefties since the 17 is 5.9%.
Yeah, they are 28th. That's a benefit. Because if his biggest issue is like giving extra base runners and not being able to go deep in the games from an efficiency standpoint, the White Sox should be able to help out a little bit there.
What's their swing rate?
That I don't know.
If you get there first.
I'm not going to get there first. I closed the tab.
Okay. We can get back to it.
Okay. Giolito, unowned. If he's unowned, I just want a little bit.
I think he's most appealing on Yahoo at 47.
I agree. 11K on DraftKings is way too much for a matchup with the Angels. There's a reason he's at 1% ownership. I'll probably get 2 or 3, and I'm okay with it. But I agree that Yahoo for 47 is the best spot, especially with Verlander at 60, Morton then at 54, everybody else coming in down there in the high 40s then.
While we're on Giolito, I'd like to redo my expensive pitcher rankings without my Syndergaard bias.
Okay, go ahead.
Morton, Verlander. And then Castillo, Syndergaard. And then Corbin.
It's nice to see that you're finally coming around.
Yeah.
By the end of this show, you're going to be saying Alcantara.
That sounded right to me just because you said more than I said it on this show.
White Sox bats not getting any ownership. Angels bats not getting any ownership. I have the Angels 13th, but I don't get the sense that offense is going to be something I'm looking for here.
Yeah, same boat. The White Sox active roster this season has the second highest swing percentage behind the Tigers. So, it's one thing to not walk, and that's obviously good, but also the fact that they're swinging at 50% of pitches thrown is appealing for Sandoval as well. Their chase percentage is 35.6%, which is also the second highest. So they swing a lot at pitches not in the strike zone. He probably just needs to make sure the ball is in the air and within 5 inches in any direction of the strike zone.
So he averaged. I really just don't know what to do with this dude. So he threw 76.7 innings in 19 starts in AA and AAA this season. So he averaged 4 innings a start in the minors. I have him in right now for 4.3 innings. That is feeling too low, given what we've just looked at, but I would be very surprised if Patrick Sandoval pitches anything after the 5th inning.
But why?
He doesn't go deep into games.
But why not?
Why does he not go deep into games?
What'd you say?
Are you asking me why he doesn't go deep into games?
Yeah.
It appears to be based on talent.
Right, but I'm saying he's facing a team in this matchup where he doesn't go deep in the games because he strikes out a lot of guys and he walks a lot of guys. But he's facing a team that doesn't walk. So I think he goes deeper into the game here than normal.
Do you have any pitches per plate appearance data by any chance?
So in the minors too, and I was pulling it up because I thought I remembered it being the case, but I wasn't sure. He wasn't throwing a lot of pitches in the minors. He had some starts where he would go 90, but for the most part, he was throwing mid 70s to upper, mid 80s in pitches. So to me, it looks like his minor leagues too, they were kind of just not they were intentionally not having him go deeper. Whereas now he's throwing 95 pitches.
I mean, for the record, I'm going to boost this from way higher to a lot higher than 4.3, but I don't get the sense that I'll crest 5, which will bring him into play a little bit. White Sox this season, league average in terms of pitches per plate appearance.
He's interesting too because it just because of how good this matchup is from a plate discipline standpoint, his Ks per 9 are really good. His strikeout percentage is not really good because he walks so many guys, so he strikes out a lower percentage of guys, that come to the plate. But at AAA, he struck out 9.85 per 9. Steamer projects him for 8.3 Ks per 9. At AA, he was in the double digits. The strikeout stuff is there. It's just that normally he walks so many guys that his strikeout percentage ends up being lower.
I would have a lot more interest in him if he wasn't owned, which is a real dumb thing to say, obviously.
I agree with that, but yeah, I don't know. I still have him projected well. I still think I get to a lot of Sandoval.
I feel like we're trying to find the silver lining in Sandoval, and we can find it because of the matchup and, because of the plate discipline stuff. But if everybody's already there, I don't feel like I'm unearthing anything. I'm just trying to maintain. So I bumped him up a decent chunk of innings. I would still rather just get to Wainwright and Tanaka if they're unowned. Yeah,
I mean, to me, I have him ahead of those guys by enough where I'm going to just get there. I'm not saying that I think I get to 40% Sandoval or anything, but him and Velasquez are the two guys in that range that just are head and shoulders above everyone for me.
Gotcha. I don't get the sense I'll be there. It is something I'm going to keep my eye on, though. I do like the matchup as a whole. His ownership will play a big role for me. Any bats at either side?
Jimenez and the catchers, and Anderson and Abreu. I don't like a White Sox stack all that much because it's just really low probability. But if you needed one-offs that are cheap with power, I think 2 through 6 all give you that.
Yep. I mean, that's just sort of the same thing what we said yesterday against Heaney. Paid off for anybody that had Abreu and no one else.
Yeah.
Final game. We'll get out of here. A's and Astros. 3.8 run implied total for the A's. 5.2 for the Stros. 65% chance to win for Houston. Tanner Roark going for Oakland. Justin Verlander going for the A's. That's a hell of a late night hammer from a pitcher. Um, 27% expected ownership on Yahoo, where he is $60. 6% only on FanDuel, where he's 12.2, and 16 on DraftKings, where he is 12.4. Talk to me about Verlander. How do you want to manage him today? Obviously a monster price tag, but he's also very good.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that he's not getting ownership. That makes him really appealing to me because he is the best pitcher on the slate in terms of talent. Double-digit strikeouts in 5 straight games, including once against this Oakland team already. He's just got very, very good upside. He's efficient. He gets deep into games usually, and so he's obviously a really good tournament play. And if people aren't going to get there, I like the idea of getting to Verlander. It's just that it's tough to get to him over Morton because Morton is also really good and just in a much better matchup. So I'm interested to see how it turns out for me. He is my second favorite pitcher on the slate.
Yeah.
Behind Morton.
It's going to be really hard to get north of 16% Justin Verlander at that price tag without trying to.
Right.
I have no idea. I could get 30% Justin Verlander on my crunch. I could get 0, and I would believe both of those numbers.
Exactly. I'd feel better about being on the 30% than the 0%.
Yeah. If I had to pick one, I would pick the 30. I think the 0 is more likely.
Yeah.
Just because of Morton and Giolito, Castillo, Corbin, Syndergaard, Minor, there's enough there that one of those guys should have a decent game. Who's it going to be? Any Tanner Roark for you? I don't know why I said it.
I'm good.
He's my worst projected pitcher outside of Aaron Brooks.
Yeah, I don't think I get to a ton of Houston, but I'm also not getting Roark.
Houston, 26th in ownership on FanDuel, unowned. 21st on DraftKings, unowned. They're 7th for me. I'm happy to get some Houston.
Cheap, so.
Huh?
They are cheap.
Yeah, I'm happy to get Houston. This is another spot where if they really are 1.5% to 2% owned in the aggregate, getting to them at like 5% is where I want to be. I will never not want these guys.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I don't want anything from Oakland. Chris Davis, 2,900 on DraftKings. Good God, buddy. Has there ever been a worse name in baseball than Chris Davis at this point? In the aggregate, Chris Davis is not doing well in 2019.
Chris Davis with a K, 2,900. Cheap. He's cheaper than the other Chris Davis.
Stacking up Chris Davey. He's hitting 227 this season. He is slugging 389 after slugging north of 500 in 4 straight seasons and 5 of 6. We're going to find out he's hurt, right?
Yeah.
That's
Didn't we go through him though and everything looked like perfectly fine?
Yeah, but I mean,
was that him? There was someone where
I think so.
Like all the numbers looked really good.
Yeah, like none of his underlying data has changed in a way to make things look like super weird.
Line drive percentage is way up this year. Ground ball percentage is up. Fly ball percentage is down. Hard hit percentage is the same.
Yeah, I just saw that too. He's not like pulling the ball aggressively or not aggressively or anything like that.
He's pulling the ball more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the elevated ground ball percentage isn't great, and as far as power numbers go, the line drive percentage isn't going to give you more home runs, but generally it's a good sign of things to come.
I think, not that I have a ton of time today, one way or the other, but I kind of want to just project out the next 6 weeks of his baseball season and see what he has to hit down the stretch to finish at 247.
Yeah,
it's going to be a pretty big number, unfortunately, but I mean, this guy does tend to hit in streaks. He was the best hitter in baseball in late April. I think that's it. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything?
Nope. I'll have the deep dive article out in the next couple of hours, and then I'll be back with Jake later.
Correct. We will be back with Jake later. Awesome Odds betting show coming up in 28 minutes, so stay tuned for that. tweet will be out with the link, or just hang out on the channel. You'll get the alert when we go live. Hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Check out our pinned tweet at awesemo_com if you want to check out more about our giveaway. Shout out to our presenting sponsor, Yahoo Sports. If you head to the website, go to Emacs Yahoo Sports. Free article for today. You'll get some instructions on how to sign up and the promo code information. Got a ton of content on Fridays. It's our biggest day of each week. So buckle up, everybody. We're going to be around until 7 o'clock tonight. And best of luck tonight. We'll talk to you later.